Hello, all of you fearless listeners. Welcome to Let Fear Bounce. This is Kim Lengling, your host of the podcast that brings you inspiration and motivation each week. Join me as I chat with my awesome guests who share their triumphs, their failures, and how they have thrived despite it all. So get ready to be inspired and empowered and to let your own fears bounce. Now let's dive into this episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode, Let Fear Bounce. This is Kim Langling, your host, and I am so glad that you are deciding to spend just a small part of your day with myself and my guest today, Ann Charles. I am so excited to have Ann on because I think this is the third time that she has been my guest over the last 3 years. I always enjoy our conversations. She always has something new coming up. She is a USA Today best-selling author, and she writes spicy, character-driven stories full of mystery, romance, comedy, adventure, suspense, and supernatural mayhem. I love that word, mayhem.
Mayhem.
When she's not dabbling in fiction, she's typically arm wrestling her two kids, enjoying a drink with her hubby, and arguing with her sassy cats, which one of which is sitting behind her right now, Loki. Welcome, Loki, to the show as well.
Loki.
See that tail flicking around?
There he is. Yep.
Oh, looked right at us. Perfect.
Yep.
See, what a star. A star is born.
I know. He's a showman all the way.
Yeah. Welcome back to Let Fear Bounce. I've been so excited about having you on again.
Thank you. Thanks for having me back. It's always fun to talk to you. So I was so happy when I was like, oh, let's book with Kim. This is going to be great.
Isn't it fun?
Yes.
So you are always busy. We were talking off mic about how busy you are as an author, and of course as a mom and a wife. You do have to do all the family things, and you do all of
Right.
the things, just all of the things. And we all know how busy our lives can be, and yet you continue to write these really cool stories and series that you've got an avid following, of fan base that just waits impatiently for the next installment of either the Deadwood series. You've got several series that are out. So, but I do want to toss out, why did you even start this writing gig to begin with?
Oh, geez. It was never on my radar. To be honest, I was a reader. Sure. I loved reading as a kid, and I would stay up way late reading books on school nights and then drag my, butt into school every day. But it wasn't until my 20s when I thought, I don't like the ending to this particular story. I wanted more. So it just made me, I'm one of those who, well, if you don't like it, do something about it. If you don't like the way your muscles feel, or if your weight, or whatever, do something about it. And so I started, trying to write my own stories, which were horrible at first. But they had long endings that were all that I ever wanted, just not well written. So that just kept going into, hey, this is kind of fun telling stories, and it just kept building from that. So I kind of I feel like backwards and tumbling into writing. And it was something that I finally realized, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do when I can't pay attention at company meetings, or I'm daydreaming over here and I'm supposed to be focusing on something work related. That's why this is what I'm meant to do. And it just kind of moved into that. I was a technical writer for years. I had gotten an English degree with emphasis on creative writing, creative writing. That always sounds like, oh, I knew what I was doing. But no, I I kind of got pushed into English because I went to many different colleges, and several of my readers know this story, but none of the colleges would accept the other colleges' beginning level English classes. And so I kept having to take English 101 over and over. And it became a joke in my family, oh, we're going to learn some more English again, huh? Now that you're at a new college. So, yeah, so it kind of built from that, and it built into both a career in technical writing, which I quit 10 years ago, and it built, into this creative writing actual job where I get to tell stories for a living.
Which is awesome.
Yes, it's a wonderful thing. And on the days when I'm beating my head against the desk thinking, I don't know what comes next on the page, I have to remind myself, this is a really cool thing, that I get to solve. This is what you
Right.
want because
Right.
anybody who's written and knows that it's not always just flowing as you type, like la 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 la. It's not like that.
And
A
it
lot of
doesn't
days
matter
it's
what genre you write in.
exactly. Some days are just hard to put those words on the page. And you always wish, oh, hey, I wish this would have went, quicker and easier like it did yesterday, but that's life.
So your characters, your store, all of your books, all your stories are very character driven. How did those characters start introducing themselves to you?
Well, the first I've always loved character driven stories. That's part of it. It's the mysteries, the hardcore mysteries aren't as much my thing because I like the characters and what happens. When I watch old episodes of Columbo, for example, I love Columbo. I like watching him as he figures it out and all the stuff around him. It's not so much, oh, the mystery, what is it? It's more him and all his little ticks and things he does. So that was something that just characters from the beginning were important. When I sat down to write the first Deadwood mystery series, I had the opening line coming in my head, which is the first time I came to Deadwood, I got shot in the ass. I hope that's okay to say on this. A, I
Sure.
said. Um, and I knew that was the opener to make you understand Violet's point of view and how her life has been going. But I didn't know who, and now, life's having a pinata something because I've got a shotgun in my face. I can't remember the exact words, but who was holding the shotgun was my first question. And I had done all kinds of planning for this story and, planned it all out and did all these nice planned things. And I had a character right out of the gate that I didn't even know who is this person. And it turned out to be Old Man Harvey, who turns out to be her buddy, bodyguard, if you will, of his choosing. And he's just a hilarious, component sidekick to her. So the characters just kind of have all just fallen into place as I go along. One of my other characters that's well liked is Cornelius Curion, who shows up in book 3 of that series. And he just walked in the door as I was typing, somebody was coming in wanting to, help buying a haunted hotel. And there he was. And he came just looking as odd and curious as Cornelian Curion is, So they just, for many people, they do a lot of studies and stuff on characters. Mine just show up and I go, oh, there you are, and let's do this.
I love that you say, "Oh, there you are."
Yeah.
'Cause that's, the that imagination. And I don't even know, I've often tried to think of a word to call that because I don't think it's I don't know, imagination just seems too blah of a term for when you've got those characters coming in. Now, I don't write fiction. I Everything I've written is nonfiction, but I do have a fiction book in my head
Right.
and part of it's down. And it's the characters, the little characters that literally just showed up, like you said. They just showed up.
Right.
I have little wood sprites that show up and talk to me. Why is that? I don't think it's my imagination. There's a reason for that. And I don't know what the word for that is. Maybe we need to make a word up for that, Anne.
We do something where those characters, they walk right in and you're like, oh, hi. Yeah, I've been waiting for you to show
Yeah,
up,
I didn't realize I was waiting for you. Hi, welcome.
Exactly.
But
And they and
it's that's such a neat, to me anyway. It's kind of a cool experience and it is because you're like, oh, well, hey, look at
yeah,
you.
it's like the new and interesting person walks into the bar that you didn't expect. And oh, hey, sit by me. Let's hear your life story. And that's one of my favorite parts of writing. And they really become your friends. I mean, as an author, that you live with them. They're part of your life, like family members almost. It's just odd. I was talking to my daughter. We were talking about how many friends is typical for someone to have friends at school or friends in this in life. And I said, or you do like I do and just you start making up your friends and add them to the plate because apparently, you need more. So a lot of people have, kind of an imaginary friend from childhood, and sometimes we lose that with our imagination because we grow up and we don't do that anymore. But some of us still do. So
Well, because I
I
think
won.
life hammers that out of you.
I think so too. Yeah, it's hard, but it's so comforting a lot of times to be able to slip back into that world and go back and hang out with them. And we talked about I've had a couple rough years where I haven't been able to write as much, and I think I know for other writers too, it can cause, well, for me, it causes crankiness. I'm like, I need to get back into writing because that's where, I find my harmony and feel happiest. So,
And your
and this,
characters are sitting in that room waiting, going, what are we doing? We're doing
what are we
nothing.
doing? Yeah. Even the villains, even the nasty ones, they're like, come on, we've got villainry to do. Let's get
Yes,
back.
we have to be villainous.
Let's go. Come on.
I love that. We have villainry. Is that a word?
I
Villainry?
don't know, but I
Yeah,
liked
it is
it.
now. I like it
Let's get to it.
too.
We got
Yeah,
bad stuff to do. Let's go.
that's right. We got some bad stuff to do. Now you've got your series, they're not small series. They're not like 3 and 4 book series. You've got one you said off mic, we were talking book 14.
Yeah, I'm writing book 14 of the Deadwood Mystery Series, and I'm over halfway. I'm on chapter 16 today, hoping to get through that one. And they're typically about 25 chapters, so to give you an idea. But they're two. My books usually run 100K to 100, and I think my longest is 130 some. And I was like, that's it. Come on. We got to wrap this
We
up.
gotta
We
wrap it
could
up.
keep going and going. You guys wrap it up. Let's do this. But there were just so many subplots in that story. And I like to bring stuff around and, yeah, leave some stuff for the next book, or future books, but also wrap up several of the plots and give you some kind of satisfaction in what we finished, but then excitement for the future. And I always end these books, the end for now. And I've gotten cursed out many times for that by readers because they're like, the end for now, come on. And I always say, trust me, you don't want it ever to just say the end because that is the end. And I'm not writing anymore. But, if it's the end for now, it means there's more to come. So stay tuned for next season, in
Right,
TV
right.
terms.
Now, and I know that folks out there listening or watching, and if you're as an avid reader as I am, or I'm sure Anne is, when you reach the end of a series, like those 3 book series, because typically they're three or
Yeah, a lot
five,
of them
I've
three.
noticed. It's always an
Yep.
odd number, 3 or 5. And I know that when I've found a great series and it actually ends, I have sunk so far into that story and the characters, it's almost
Yeah.
like you're sad.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Exactly.
you miss them. You're like, oh my gosh, well, what's going to happen? Well, what happened? Are they going to do this? Are they going to do that? Did they ever have kids? Did they ever, whatever the case may be? But then it's just done. And I think it's awesome that you continue to take your reader base on that journey.
Right.
And for now, I
And
like how you end that.
sometimes they're like, how soon until the next one? I'm like, I'm still partying from the release.
Right.
So- and I have other series I work on too. So when I finish this 14th Deadwood, I'm finally going to go back to the Dig Site series, which is the archaeology mystery, mayhem type of series with Violet Parker, the heroine's brother, Quint. So I'm going back to that series to write another one of those. It's been like 5 years and I need to do it and I keep putting it off and life keeps happening. But I'm really going to do another story in that series. And then I still got to get back to Jackrabbit Junction down in Arizona. Those sisters are just waiting because they've got lots of rowdy fun to do yet, and that's book 7 when I hit that one. So I just we keep plugging along. And then my husband and I just released the 5th one, Hip Deep in Bad Company, in the Deadwood Undertaker series, which is the prequel series to the Deadwood series. That's on book 14. So the fun thing with that when we work on it is we can tie strings between the two because with supernatural involved, you can have ghosts in one book that are alive in another. So you get the feeling of this just keeps going. And it's a lot of
Yeah.
fun to do that and do the tie, across the time series stuff.
I enjoy series like that as well. There's a couple authors that they have different series, but they're characters from other books. They make cameo appearances,
Yep.
and I just
That's
love that. It keeps me waiting for the next one to come out.
Well, that's what I tell people. This is a world I've built. It's like I think of it as a Maya complex of temples, and each series has its temples and its whole area, and some are bigger temples than other, but we're building on over here. So I like the idea of you come to the Anne Charles world, and I think I'm at 36 books. I should really count. I mean, it's not like 100. Some people are way up in the hundreds, and kudos to them. They're awesome, but they're almost all tied together in some way. There's some string. And if you don't see it yet, it's because it's coming. There's a string that's going to be there. So I always wanted to create, it's tying all the lands in my imagination together, kind of a thing, and let you hang out there with me.
Now, is that something, this is something that just popped in my head because I enjoy reading books like that. I've not ever written books like that. And I'll be honest, for me, it's intimidating
Yeah,
to
me too. Every book. It's like, oh boy, I'll read the last ones before I start. I always go back through the series. And with Deadwood, that takes forever now to read, all these books and get back in. Um, but I'll be reading the previous ones and thinking, I don't know if I can do this. Who wrote this? And I'll even say to my husband, time and again, I don't know that I can write another one of these. I don't know if I have this in me. Who wrote this? I don't know where I got these ideas. And sometimes clever turn of phrase and all that. Where did that come from?
right.
And I think it's my left brain talking. And my right brain's over there just, smoking a cigarette, taking a drink, going, come on, just shut up and let me go.
Right.
Let me do my thing. I got it. I don't smoke, never have. So I don't know why my right brain smokes a cigarette, but apparently it does.
I have a character in my head. I call him Chainmail Guy. He
Mm,
wears chainmail and he walks the perimeter of where I live because I live in the realm.
right.
I'm the queen of my own realm. Dang
I
it.
love that. I love that.
So chainmail guy, he that's his job. He walks
Just
the
walks this.
perimeter and lets me know if there's any interlopers on the way.
That's awesome.
Chainmail guy, he wears chainmail. Where'd that come from? I have no idea, but he's there and he's still hanging out. So
Right, right. I'd like to think we all have these kind of people and characters. Our personalities are not
you know
just
what we
black and
do?
white.
We do. And here's an interesting thing, and maybe as an author, it might be something you want to look into. It's called internal family systems.
Hmm,
It's a type
okay.
of counseling,
Really?
and it looks at all the different parts that each of us have. And some folks, they'll be like, oh no, that's too woo woo, or I'm not a multiple personality. No, you're not. But we all have parts. Like when you're angry, that's a part. And
Mm,
that part serves a purpose.
mm.
When you're fearful, that's a part. That part serves a purpose. Now you take those parts and explain to me what they look like.
There you go.
It's a cool exercise, but read into it might be some neat little research for you, honestly.
Yeah, yeah,
I've looked
definitely.
into it on my own and it's very interesting. That's I think that's kind of how chainmail guy was,
Yeah, that's how
because aren't you watchful of your own property? You're watchful over your family, over your kids, over your animals. Who's that part? What's that part
yeah.
like?
And sometimes she's really annoying because it's like, would you stop
And
being
see,
so
yours is a
paranoid?
she. Yours is a she.
She did, yeah, she's controlling it. She's running the show. And it's
Yeah.
sometimes it's like, back down. We can't worry about all this so much. Come on.
I think that's why I have chainmail guy. I don't have time
So-
to worry about all that stuff. I gotta let chainmail
exactly.
guy keep an eye out.
Let him walk the perimeter. I love
Let's
that.
see.
Yeah,
There you go. A little tip for you.
I
Check
like
that.
that.
It's fun. It's a fun exercise. And then I really dove right into it. And so it pops in my head. I'll be like, that's another part. Well, I'll be darned. What does this one look like?
Yeah, what is this one? Yeah, that's really interesting. It makes me think of that movie Inside Out. I went to the second one with my daughter this summer and had anxiety was a new character, boredom. They had all kinds of humiliation, I think it was, or embarrassment. It was really fun to explore some of those different elements within us with a teenager that has angst.
Yeah,
So it's kind
yeah,
of,
yeah. Look into it. Internal family systems is what it's called. And it's a counseling technique
oh, that's
that professional
interesting.
counselors use.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, now that we went off topic a little bit on that,
That's okay. My right brain loved it. Was just sitting there smoking, nodding her head while she's
Okay,
listening.
yes, of course it is. Yours just got a cigarette. I think mine would have a pipe.
Oh, I like that.
You know,
Yes, that's
kind of pipe that's
sophisticated.
really, and it, my uncle used to smoke a pipe, and that vanilla smell, I always loved that smell. And
Yeah.
whenever, and people don't smoke a whole lot anymore, and I
No.
certainly never see people smoking pipes anymore. But I was at a flea market yesterday.
Yeah.
I love going to flea markets, walking around, and the people that you see,
The
it's just
people.
character driven right there.
Yep.
And so I'm like, boy, Kim, you really do need to write a fiction book. Anyway, I'm walking around the flea market and I smelled that vanilla smell. And I literally stopped and put my nose in the air. And I'm
Like
like,
a dog. Yeah.
and it reminded me of my Uncle Bob when he used to smoke a pipe. I was enthralled by watching him, tamp the tobacco down. Then
Right. Do the whole.
already there was a whole routine for it. And
There's
brought all that back and that smell with the pipe. So that's what I think of my person sitting around like your guy smoking a
yeah.
that's my right brain guy sitting there smoking a pipe.
Yeah, doing that. There's the whole senses and how they get involved with um things, smell and what it brings about. When I write, one thing that's worked often for me, and I've been doing it again lately, is there's channels on YouTube that have vintage like 40s or 50s music playing in the background with like rain or different sounds in the foreground, like it's in the other room kind of a feel. And my husband came out, Sam Lucky, he's like, why do you listen to that? I mean, he listens to a lot of sounds too, but his will be like sounds of horses and stuff out there, and stuff westerny. And I said, it reminds me of playing with the toys at my grandma's house while she has music playing in the background. And it's really comforting. And for some reason, I can focus so well because it brings that feeling back. And that's the sound or smells. I know a lot of authors will burn certain candles and scents while they write, so it helps them to, with their imagination, it takes them somewhere. And I think it's really important, when you're doing something creative, to find what it is that does that for you, what it is that brings that comfort level out, that gives you the freedom that I can sit here and play with my Fisher Price people and nobody's going to judge me, type of thing, right?
Right.
And it's just, and you have a level of safety and comfort that comes with it at the same time. So that's been something I've been thinking about more often, after listening to readers talk about, reading something about readers talking about smells they use. And I don't tend to do that, but I do certain music, like that. It makes a difference.
There's certain things that when I'm writing, it depends on, I mean, this is nonfiction, but I try and I'll be like, okay, Kim, if someone's reading this, are they going to be able to see it in their head? Are they going to be able to feel it? Are they going to be able to, smell it, touch it? I try and
Right.
bring in the five senses if I can.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's not easy because then sometimes you have to dive into who you are.
Right. Right.
And
You
sometimes
gotta,
that's not so easy
no.
because
It's,
sometimes you
it,
don't want to, sometimes you just don't want to go there.
Yeah, yeah. It trying to write fear, a scary scene on the page, or super funny. Anything where you're really trying to play on emotions. It can be tough because you don't want to overwrite it and put
Right.
too much, but you got to give them enough. But will it bring the same feelings? What brings me fear? Does it bring other people goosebumps,
Right.
or does it turn them off and they're like, no, 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 can't handle it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it just has my brain whirling now. Has my brain whirling. Okay, so I do want to talk about you've got a great fan base and you've had a yearly event that you invite your fans to.
Right.
And I know you didn't have one last year, but do you have plans to bring that back again, maybe in 2025, and invite your fans to come along this ride with you, to continue this ride with you, because you have a great fan base and you have a great relationship with them.
Right. Yes, we do. And we haven't set a date yet. Typically we do it this time of year. It was in the fall, the last few years. And like you said, I'm not doing it this year. I had parents pass away, and I just felt like it's too much. I can't do this right yet. And I needed to get my writing up and going again because everything kind of slowed way down and was hard to, focus. But we are talking about next year already, heading back to Deadwood, South Dakota, which is where we do it because Deadwood is built for tourism. It's wonderful, but yet it has so much history and so many activities you can do. So we always throw it, we have it there where the books are set. And that way you kind of get to come and be immersed in the world if you like these stories. And whether it's the Old West or the contemporary West, you can experience both in Deadwood and the neighboring town Lead and the others around there. So we will have another one next year. We haven't decided on any dates yet. We haven't, which I know it drives people nuts. They'd love to know way in advance. But right now, life is just week to week sometimes. But we will come up with something and have another party for everybody to come to. And we do book signings and we do tours of haunted places and different things. And the town of Deadwood is so wonderful. And Lead, the neighbor town that I use in both books. Everybody, the retailers and merchants will do what they can to help us throw the best party we can for the people that come. So it's a really cool event. And we love to do it because we get to work with the people of the area and the merchants, and they're all so wonderful.
And your readers, though, I mean, they get to actually meet you, like to me, that's got to be a thrill, such a thrill to meet an author that you've been following for years through all of these books. And it's like, oh my gosh, this is a real person. I get to meet her.
Yeah.
Or I
We go
get to
through
meet
haunted
him too.
houses. We do haunted houses together, haunted brothels, all kinds of stuff. We just go together and I'm there with them and they'll see I'm just a regular person like them. And then sometimes I'm scared and sometimes, ooh, what's going on here? But we have fun. And yes, I think it's really good for everybody to come and realize, Sam and I, we're just like you guys. We just tell stories and we all share a wonderful sense of humor and adventure and action. So let's get together and celebrate that. No matter where you're from or what else you do or you're involved with, this is something we have in common and we can all enjoy, as a group. So it's really fun to do and it's great. And some have come year after year after year. And I love it because I get to see them where I don't get to see them the rest of the year because we live so far apart, but I get to visit with them and see how everything's going. And yeah, I really love to interact with readers that enjoy the stories, not for the pat on my back, but because, like I said, I feel like if we both like these stories, we have stuff in common, and it's like finding new friends that you can hang out with and you can enjoy someone who shares that same, love of adventure and humor with you, especially the humor, because humor is really subjective. What I find funny, a lot of people might not. So if you think it's funny too, then hey, we got to get together and have drinks because we'll laugh a
Right.
lot.
Right. Well, you've invited them into your worlds that you've created, and they've been sticking with you the whole time, and I just think that's awesome. And so it's kind of an extension of all that you do,
Right.
well, because
I'm
without readers, you wouldn't have your stories.
I'd just be the crazy lady who
You're right.
tells weird stories, right? With
Right.
a lot of cats,
With
because
the
I do
like, you
have
be the
some
crazy
stuff.
cat lady. Yeah.
I'd be that one. Yeah, and the readers have been so amazing, especially these last couple years when I've really stumbled. I used to put out, 3 to 4 books a year, but the last 2 years it's been one, maybe two. I just doing what I can to keep my head above water as I go through midlife, aging parents, teenagers, and what's so cool is my readers, yeah, they do want to know what next book is, but they also say, we understand what's going on, and we're here for you. Just when you're ready, we can't wait. We're waiting. And that's so cool to know they're giving me a time to catch my breath and get back going again. And a lot of times people don't have the patience for that with an author, but we are human, just like everybody
Right.
else. And we go through life's tragedies just like everybody else. So, and unfortunately, when you're creative, sometimes you go, when you have something like that happen, and I don't know, you build a clay structure of I'm trying to think, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Devil's Tower. You go do that. Some of us don't. Some of us shut down and just curl into ourselves and try to get through the worst of the pain and come back to the light again. And that's kind of what I feel like. Last month was the 6 month anniversary of my mom's passing. And it was right around my birthday, which was, made for a sucky birthday. But then I felt like, okay, I really feel like it's time to move on. It's time to pick back up. It's time to really get busy and go back to what you love doing. You've grieved and grieved and grieved. Let's live life again. That's what she would want. So that's kind of what, it really felt like coming out of this last spin. And I've told my father, who almost died twice the year before, no, maybe 3 times. I'm like, hold her steady, please. Just
Yeah.
stop. You
Yeah.
got to give me time here, to regroup and prepare for the next one, because like you can prepare for death, but
Right.
holy cow, this has just been tumbling. So
Yeah, it's very well, and it sounds so trite to say it, but it's just so damn hard.
yeah,
And
it
there
really,
everybody grieves different, and there's no time frame on grief.
no,
There's just
gosh,
there's just a way of dealing with it better and smoother as you go.
exactly. I feel a little better today. It keeps getting better. Oh, I haven't cried in a week. Wow, that's awesome. And it just
Yeah.
kind of keeps smoothing over. And one thing I really learned with this last one is how much, for me, my children are pillars, are now strong parts of my world. And with them, I can go on and tackle everything. I can go conquer, because I still have them there in my heart with me and active. And even though they're teenagers, I love them so much, and it's so fun to be with them, and it brings you back to life. And that's one of the things. My mother-in-law is getting older and older, and it's harder for her to get down to visit us for, when she does. And I'm like, you have to keep coming down, because I think being around young people is so important the older you get. It makes you want to live again and want to keep going. Their excitement can be contagious, on
Yeah.
life.
No, I agree. I became a first time grandma,
Oh, congratulations.
and I am loving every second of it. And
Yeah,
it's
that's so
it's
fun.
made me look at the world differently again.
Yes,
And every minute I spend with her, I again see the world through her eyes with all the awe and wonder that that entails.
right. It's all new. Oh, look at
Yes.
this. Oh, look at this. Yeah, it's
And you can see her
exciting.
little brain working as she figures stuff out, like she just learned how to stand.
Oh,
And I just sit there, I'm like, you're the smartest child on the planet. You are brilliant. But
it's,
the look on her face as she figures out, if I move my leg this way and move my hand this way, I can go this way. I mean,
yeah,
it's just
yeah.
amazing to watch. And it's just, I'm like, oh my gosh, you're just amazing.
I know. I once was in a doctor's office, and somebody came in with a baby, and there's a really older, he must have been probably late 80s, because he just, had a lot of age. And he looked at the baby and he said, so many new parts. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
jealous. And I was like, oh gosh, I hadn't thought of it that way, but it's so true. Look at that. They can move that leg like that without going, ow, oh, my
Right.
hip.
Right. Oh, well, gosh, this has been so much fun, and I have just enjoyed our conversation yet again. I
Mm.
would like right now, before we wrap up, for you to let folks know where they can find all of your amazing books. And if you have any teasers of something that might be coming up, toss a teaser out there too.
So anncharles.com, anncharles.com. You go there, I've got a books page. It lists them all. It has a bunch of links, a little description for each. If you want to go into whatever, retailer you use to purchase, you can read some reviews. I always tell new people that read some reviews, read the goods and the bads, because the bads will tell you what's in the book that they didn't like. And so if you don't like it either, it might not be for you. But if you're like me and I read bad reviews to go, all right, let's read this. All right,
Yeah,
this is gonna be
that's
fun.
yeah.
If that's what you do, and you come and join me, because we have a lot of fun on the page. And these books are to entertain. I do have a history mixed in. I do, a lot of truth mixed in behind with that history and what happened. But then I add fiction, layers of fiction over it to have fun with the world and learn through entertainment, as well as, the nonfiction mixed in. So you can find it all there. I'm on multiple social media sites, although I've been a little quieter the last year because of all that's going on, but I still pop in there and say hello and keep, that I'm still alive. We're still going. So you can find me out there on different social media sites, as well as you can email me, and I try to write back as soon as I can. Sometimes it's longer, sometimes it's really quick. But for the teaser, like I said, I'm working on Deadwood number 14, and I know a lot of you guys that are fans that are watching this have been waiting, and it's exciting. The first draft crew is just cruising through it, and giving a lot of positive feedback, as well as Sam Lucky, who reads as soon as I write. He's my first reviewer, and he says he just keeps saying, "Keep going. This is great. Keep going." And it's going to be a little bit of a caper. It's called Cops and Clobbers in Deadwood. I always play with the letters. So cops and
Right.
robbers, cross off the R and make it clobbers in Deadwood. And it's going to be a little bit of a, change from what we had last book to this book, but still the same crew, the same stuff in life is going on. And I think that's important in a series, that when you read it, it doesn't all just feel like the same, that each book has its own, feel, and some are scarier, some are funnier, some are lighter, some are heavier emotions. And I think it makes the world more fun because that's life, right? So
Yep,
that's my
exactly.
teaser, Deadwood 14, and it should be out later this fall.
Awesome. All right, so there you go, folks. She told you where you can find her. All of that stuff will also be in the description of the YouTube channel, as well as the Spotify channel and any of the other listening platforms that you might be listening to on this. So you can check her out there. Thanks for the teaser. I also ask all of my guests before we wrap up to toss out a nugget of hope to the listeners. So what would your nugget of hope for the listeners be today?
Oh boy, a nugget of hope. I guess, being an avid reader of history, going clear back to the Maya and the Egyptians, and I really like to always keep history in mind when looking at what's coming in the future, when my kids are all nervous about something that they hear on the news or whatever, and just remind them that, you know, there's been all these civilizations that have gone before us and played their parts and done their thing in the world. And life went on, everyday life, just like what we're experiencing, they experienced. And so take comfort in the fact that this is all part of the great ride, the journey through life. And just try to find joy in every day, from little things like the cat's purring, to major things like you did well on something, or hey, you got a discount, on gas or something. I don't know. But I try to do that and focus daily on that kind of a thing, and stop looking at such big doom and gloom stuff that people like to paint, for us, and focus on everyday positives to give you hope to keep going to the next day and see what the next day brings. That was very long-winded nugget.
No, that's a perfect nugget, because I'm always doing that, tossing out nuggets of hope. And it's always just, don't look, don't accept or eat what the world's feeding you,
Right, right.
because not all of it's healthy.
Oh, it's all fear. So much is fear too.
Yes.
And I try to tell my kids, how do you think so and so felt back when this happened? They had fear. But look at us now. We look back and go, that was nothing.
Right.
So just try to, take one step at a time.
That's right. That's why I named my podcast what it is. Let fear bounce.
Let fear bounce. I love it. Yeah, let it bounce on past you.
That's
Clouds in the
right.
sky. I read that the other day. Life's a blue sky. It's just clouds passing, and you choose whether or not you want to get caught up in the cloud or not. Just let it pass.
That is right. That is right. Darn it. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you once again, Anne, for being my guest. This has been a true pleasure. And I want to have you back on again. Of course,
Yes.
sometime in the future, we can talk. I'm sure we can find all kinds of things to talk about.
I know, way more than just, well, we can fill this in no time.
That's right. That is right. But thank you so much for being my guest. It's been a true blessing. Thank you.
Thank you for having me again. It's been fun.
And everybody out there, thank you for tuning in to another episode. Each Wednesday, folks, new episodes are uploaded or downloaded, however it is you want to look at it. I am your host, Kim Lengling. Thank you once again. Everybody be well, stay well, and be blessed. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Let Fear Bounce. I do realize that your time is precious, and I appreciate that you've decided to spend just a small part of your day with myself and my guest. I hope that you found inspiration and motivation tucked into this conversation today. And remember, every triumph and failure is a step towards thriving. So stay fearless, stay inspired, and join me each week with more inspiration from amazing guests from all over the world. Until then, stay fearless, my friends, and let fear bounce.